just like myself on video, so I'm just going to video myself. Hi, my name's Liam Phillips. I'm an access consciousness facilitator, and I'm also a Talk to the Entities facilitator, registered trademark. And I travel the world. I'm just about off to Brazil for 5 or 6 classes there, mainly in Talk to the Entities classes. And everything that doesn't allow you to laugh at everything that I say tonight, can you now destroy and uncreate it all, please? Thank you. Good, bad, right, wrong, pop, popcorn, nice, short, boys and girls. I may use a clearing statement just to clear the energy every now and again. But this evening I thought it'd be fun to talk a little bit about entities, what they are and what they're not, and where we have been misled in... Can everyone hear me? Yeah. Where we've been misled into believing some things that are actually not true, which often locks us up, as you all well know. So the first thing that many people ask me is, what is an entity? So what is an entity? What is an entity to you? Spirit? What else? Sorry? Energy? What else?
Learning.
Sorry? Learning? Yeah, what else? Is the video a video camera? Is the video camera an entity? Everything that has a life force of its own is an entity. So a book, a business, and we often hear people say a business entity, yeah? Even out there in the quote unquote real world, they use terms such as entities to describe something that has its own life force. So, and you can see that even the government has an entity of its own. It's its own creation. So I look at entities from 2 points of view. There's natural entities, and then there's created entities. A created entity is like an iPhone, or a book, or a business. And then there's natural entities, and some of those are like the earth is a natural entity. Your body is a natural entity, although you created it to some degree. You, the being that takes over the body, is a natural entity. And mostly those entities that we talk about, which we term often as ghosts, are people that have, which is probably about 70% of entities that we deal with, are people that once had bodies and no longer have bodies. Yeah? Any questions so far? Cool.
So a living energy, is it different than a ghost energy? Or is energy no matter what it is?
Well, I'll leave that to you. What's light for you is true for you, and what's heavy is a lie. So that's that's a really cool tool. If you don't take anything else away from this evening, that one tool will always guide you to know what is true for you in that 10 seconds. So anything that I say tonight, if it's heavy for you, that means it's a lie for you in this 10 seconds. Or you're going into defense of some point of view. If it's light for you, it's true for you in that 10 seconds. And so whenever you follow what is light for you, you're going to have more of that lightness show up. And every time that you follow that heaviness, or every time that you go into defending a point of view, and you know when you're defending a point of view, because you'll start to get angry, or you'll go, oh, that guy's talking a load of crap, or whatever it is. That's a defense. Then there is a lie there. Every time that you follow that lie, you create more of those lies. So it's a bit like fighting for peace. Heavy or light? Heavy. Yeah. If it worked, would we have any wars on the planet now? No. If it worked, would we have relationship problems? No. If it worked, would we be having diseases in our bodies where we're constantly fighting the wisdom of our body? No. So this tool, heavy and light, really does allow you to perceive a different reality. So every time that you go into the heaviness, the fight, to try to make your point of view right, or or somebody else's point of view wrong, you create the polarity of this reality. And that's what locks us into this reality. So when we're locked into this reality, it's very... When we're locked into this reality, we only have the menu of this reality. It's like this entire universe is like made up of a whole bunch of restaurants. You've got restaurants like McDonald's, Kentucky Fried, Ford's, to the most luxury restaurants in the world. But when you're only in the polarity of this reality of the right or the wrong, you can only choose McDonald's. So how many of you are only choosing the McDonald's when you could be choosing something that's way beyond that, way beyond the polarity of this reality? Now, why am I talking about that when I'm talking about entities?
Because we have a wider choice.
Have a wider choice?
In one timeline.
Yep. But also, entities attach to you, or attach to your lives, or attach to other people through a polarity. So that the more that you're in a polarized point of view of I'm right and you're wrong, then entities love that feeling and emotion and thought, and so they can attach to people and objects with a lot more ease. So how many of you like to go to busy shopping centres? No. Not many of you. How many of you would like to avoid busy shopping centres? Yeah. How many of you enjoyed school? Oh, 3. Oh, okay, cool. Awesome. How does it get any better than that? Do you know why you like to avoid those places?
Because of the bad energy.
Huh?
Because of all the bad energy.
Well, is it bad energy?
Just a lot of energy.
So much of it, yeah.
It's a lot of judgment.
Yeah.
Okay? Judgment holds the polarity of this reality in place. So when you go to a shopping centre, people are always looking at, will this thing fit me? Am I buying it? Am I buying the right thing? Is it too expensive? All of this stuff is looking at, oh, will I look good in this? It's like they're going to the wrongness of themselves. They're not choosing what is right for them. They're choosing what is being told to them is the right look. The leather jacket is the right look. The Levi jeans, you got to fit the legend, yeah? That's a joke. I certainly don't fit the legend. I'm very pleased about that. How many of you guys like to fit in? And how many of you guys actually know that you don't fit in? If you're in this room, most of you probably don't fit. Yeah. How many of you beat yourself up because you don't fit in? That's judgment. So, schools. A lot of you didn't like schools, or a lot of you find schools stressful because it's all about getting it right and avoiding getting it wrong. So when kids like this go into school, they go in as an angel and they come out as a demon. Have you noticed that? Your kids go in, they're like, oh, they're so cool. Yes, Mummy, I'll meet you at 3:00. And when they come back out, it's like, hello, Mummy, it's Chucky here. It's like, what happens in that time? It's because all of these entities hang around the school waiting to jump onto your child's back because of all of this emotional thoughts, feelings and emotions, all the rightness and the wrongness. Thoughts, feelings and emotions help to create the polarity of right and wrong, good and bad, good, bad, right, wrong, and yeah, all of that. You know that? Judgment. Yeah? Cool. So, I really enjoyed your answer, all the bad energy. What if there was no bad or good energy? It's just energy. As soon as we go into this is good energy or this is bad energy, we've gone into judgment. We have to judge it as a good energy or we have to judge it as a bad energy. So then when we're judging it as a good energy, we'll want more of that and we resist the bad energy. And then we're creating a polarity. So everything is positive, everything is good, and we try to avoid everything that is bad or what we've decided is wrong. Like in Papua New Guinea, you know, before the white man got there, it's quite acceptable to eat your neighbour. Yeah? But from our point of view, that's a wrongness. So it created a conflict, it created a war, because the white man saw it as a wrongness, and the natives there, it was part of their culture. So it created a conflict. As we've just found out, conflict does not work. Yeah? You always have to expand out. So, everywhere where you've bought that conflict works when it actually doesn't, would you be willing to give that up and destroy and uncreate it all? Forever and ever, amen. Good and bad, right, wrong, pop, popcorn, ice, short, burns. I didn't see many people jumping up. Yes, yes, I get rid of conflict. You're a hard audience. Huh?
Staying neutral and observing.
You're staying neutral and observing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. How does it get any better than that? Is it light or heavy, what I'm saying?
I'm just observing you and no judgment.
So was it light or heavy for you?
It's light.
Okay, cool. So it's true for you in
What
just
you
10
said
seconds.
before was exactly what I was just saying to my friend on the phone about
Yeah.
the stuff that she was attaching to herself today. So that was kind of cool.
Awesome. How does it get any better than that? So entities. So there's two types of entities. So one of the things. Can you give me like a 5-minute nod? Because otherwise I'll just talk. So then I look at entities. There are like 3 major points of view about entities on the planet. There's the spiritual, religious, and metaphysical point of view. That's not the 3, that's all one. And then there's the psychological point of view. And then there's the, oh my God, what is the other one? I'll get to that in a minute. And then there's the Hollywood point of view. Almost forgot that one. Let's do the Hollywood point of view for the starters. Because that one is, everybody knows Hollywood, yeah? I call it the Hollywood point of view because when we talk about entities, most of us have been brought up with televisions to some degree, unless you're 1,000 years older than me. We've all been brought up with this Hollywood point of view. And I remember when I was 17, I was going to college. I had this, it was like a dungeon type accommodation when I was at university. And I had this little black and white TV like this, you know, weighed about 400 kilos, that, you know, I'm giving my age away now. And on it was that movie, The Exorcist. You know, where, is it Linda Blair? Her head spins round, she vomits everywhere, and that movie freaked the living daylights out of me. And it wasn't even on at late at night, you know, and it was on a black and white TV, and it wasn't so much about the head twisting around. It was just this whole idea that we can give our lives up to another entity, or another entity can take over our bodies and our lives. And that scared the living bejesus out of me. And at that point was one of those times when I bought the Hollywood point of view. It was one of those times where I cut off my awareness or capacities with entities. And it's the same when a lot of kids that have capacities with entities, they're often not encouraged to play with those capacities. They're often disempowered. And the disempowerment starts like, oh no, there's nothing there. You're seeing things. When actually, yeah, they are seeing things, but it's real and true. So one of the things is when I'm working with kids is when they're looking at something, I will ask a question. Because the question will always open up a possibility. An answer will always disempower you or limit the possibility. So I ask a question and I'll ask them, oh, what are you aware of? And just by asking that question, they get to be aware of what it is that they're aware of. They start to step into more of their perceiving and their knowing and their being. And so it empowers them. So later on in life, when they do have these things come up, now when there's demons around, when they're out partying, when they're 17, 18 years old, and there's a lot of alcohol around and people are getting boisterous, they start to become aware of all of the entities, all the demons, all of these entities that are trying to jump onto people because of all of the polarity that the alcohol is creating in that particular environment. And so they'll be aware. They'll be aware to trust themselves to know, this is not a place that I want to be around any longer. It's time for me to go. I'm going to ring mum or dad, come and pick me up. Yeah? How many of you had your capacities with talking with entities cut off when you were a child because somebody said, that's not real, and you bought their point of view? Anywhere where you've bought that point of view, will you give it back and destroy and uncreate it, or return it to sender? So Hollywood has made a lot of money out of creating fear around entities, and that is probably the biggest myth on the planet, that entities can have any power over you whatsoever. This reality, if you have the body, you have the power. Yeah? And that's why entities want your body, because they know that. You've forgotten that. How many of you judge your body in the morning when you get up? Oh, look, there's more grey hair. Holy hell, who is that old man looking out at me? Yeah, why are my boobs down to my knees today? You know, like this judgment. Yeah, and so when you go and step into that judgment, you're inviting entities to have the power over you. But the entities, they have no power over you other than what you give them. So if you're willing to acknowledge your body and start to make friends with your body and know that you have the power, no entity can take you over unless you allow it. Then it becomes a choice. Cool. So that's the Hollywood point of view. So everywhere where you have bought the Hollywood point of view, locked it into your body, would you now be willing to destroy and uncreate all of that?
Yes.
Thank you. Good and bad, right, wrong, pop, corner, short boys and beyonds. So the second one is the psychological point of view. The psychological point of view of entities doesn't really exist. It's actually the antichrist. No, the anti of entities. It's the psychological point of view. Psychology is really basically designed, or most of it is designed for you to fit back into this reality. We spend all of our time and money trying to get out of it by going to movies and doing all sorts of weird and wacky things, and you know, going and living on the arse end of the world called New Zealand, you know, as far away as possible from anyone and everything. Yeah? And it could be another planet. Western Australia is another place. Funny that, a lot of New Zealanders live in Western Australia. Yeah. It's getting too busy over in Western Australia. So what a lot of the psychology does is that when you have a capacity with entities and it shows up, say like as a mental disorder or a drinking problem, then what the psychologists try to do is fit you back in to this reality's point of view that, yes, you're hearing voices, that's not real. That's one of the biggest myths on the planet. If you're hearing voices, then you need to ask a question. Is this my thought or somebody else's thought? Yeah? If you ask a question, you can receive. It's written in the Bible somewhere. Ask, and so you shall receive. Yeah? Don't ask a question, and you won't receive anything. So the first thing to do is, if you've got a head full of voices, and it's saying, "Come on, Gabriel, just have one more drink, mate. Come on. Just one. Yeah. It'll only lead to another 100, and then you'll be really drunk, and I can take over your body. Yeah? Cool. A lot of us have done that, yeah? We've heard that little voice. But from the psychology point of view, you're a nutter, okay? So they try to bring you back into this reality. We've got any psychologists here? No. We got one.
But no,
Okay.
no, it's just funny because this week I've been approached to do a course on psychology and counselling, and I'm like, do I want to do this or do I not really know much about it?
Or don't buy my point of
No.
view.
It's just interesting hearing about
But
it.
like, look at it and go,
I'm looking
okay,
at the
so
Bible
is this
reading.
light or heavy?
That's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking, yeah.
It's not a judgment though.
No.
Because
It's
this
just-
is what
it's
we
more
do
like
when we
a-
go into judgment. We're
It's
weighing
like
the
a-
pros and cons.
Yeah.
It's not light and heavy.
It's just more.
Light is, yeah, I want to do it. Heavy is, this is funky.
It's just more knowledge. I just want to have more knowledge, basically.
Yeah, you want more knowledge or you want more knowing, honey?
All of it. I just can't. It's like a sponge. It's just like.
Okay, so do you want more knowledge or do you want more knowing?
I've got knowing. I just want more knowledge.
Yeah, well, if you step into your knowing, all the knowledge would just show up.
Yeah, I kind of know that. Yeah, I know. That's why I'm playing with it. It's like that's what I mean. The light heavy thing has just been resonating all week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's why I haven't gone with it yet.
this reality, everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. So when you have this reality, hang on a minute. When you have this reality, I've just cleared myself now. I've forgotten what we're talking about. This reality's point of view is that you have to get knowledge. When you can get the knowledge, then you can change it.
Well, it's curious.
When you're cognitively aware, then you can change it. Hang on a minute. What came first, energy or thinking?
I don't want to change anything. It's
Energy
just
came first.
It's just a new.
Yeah. But listen, just listen for a second, because when you're willing to be aware, when you're willing to step into your knowing, you would just be able to suck the knowledge out of somebody else's head.
I do.
You don't need to do all of that study.
That's why
I mean, when Harmony here will get to the age where she's doing exams and stuff, we'll be talking about. Well, we've already talked about it. What does this person need to hear? What does this teacher need to hear? What answers does this teacher
Well, you
need?
got it all inside
Yeah,
anyway.
and all you have to do is take the answers out of the other person's head. How many of you have been doing that? How many of you didn't study until the last 10 seconds and actually used your awareness to get past the dumb exam? And yeah, quite a few of you.
No exams or anything. It's just
So,
that's my path this week. Yeah, I don't know if I want to. I'm just sussing things out. That's
Yeah.
kind of funny how it just resonates. Everything you've talked about tonight's been my whole week.
cool. It should be your whole life. Someone had a question up here.
No, it's just what we're talking about.
Yeah, I was going to say, talking about light and heavy, okay? So sometimes an opportunity comes along, but because of your past experiences have not been good, it feels heavy, and yet it could be light.
Yeah, well, there's
So that's-
there's a whole barrel of stuff in that question.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, well, first of all, an opportunity always has a time frame attached to it. You go down to the local car yard and it's sort of like, only this week can you get this car, this deal, and it will never ever happen again. That's an opportunity, okay? That's why it feels heavy. The heaviness is because it's a lie. Of course there's going to be another opportunity. There's always
That's
going to
right.
be
We
another
know
deal.
that.
Yeah?
But that's not the heaviness. The heaviness is past experiences, and it's like, you know,
Yeah.
they've been really bad. So you have an opportunity, and it's like that you know, because and I think possibly everybody or a lot of people go by their past experiences.
Yeah, do generally.
So why would you go by your past experiences?
Because that's where you go to first. You make a connection with your past knowledge, and
But the
then
past
from
is
there you
gone.
can.
It's not.
Yeah, you
No,
said it
no,
there, your
actually,
past knowledge.
No, but the next thing is from there you go, well, okay, I'm in the now, so where do I sit now?
Okay,
And
so
that's
then
the
choose.
essence of it. Then it
Just-
doesn't
just
become
a
light
choice.
heavy, exactly. That's
Okay.
it.
Everywhere where you're functioning from past experiences, you'll never create anything different.
It's how you learn to read, though. You draw on you do. your past experiences, things you
Okay,
see.
well you have the rightness of your point of view.
But in life, that's what you do. It's just, you put it all together like you're saying, and then it just happens. When you're in the knowing, it does.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
everywhere where you're putting knowledge before knowing, will you now destroy and uncreate all of that?
You've got to try and find a harmony, and that's the really hard thing to find. Yeah, unless you actually stand
Okay.
in the knowing.
So your point of view creates your reality.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so every time you say it's hard for you to find the balance,
That's what you're putting out there. So
yeah,
everyone
so
else
will you
does
stop doing that?
Yeah.
Truth?
Learning to. Learning
Cool.
to.
Okay.
Starting to understand it.
So everywhere where you are creating your reality from the past, rather than choosing what it is that you desire to create and then following the energy of that, will you now destroy and uncreate all of that?
Yes.
Good and bad, right, wrong, pop, popcorn, eyes, short boys and beyonds. You're giggling.
I've been doing this
I know what
ritual
you're
where
doing.
every time, you know how you have the attachment trying to happen, I just go, not my truth, not my truth, and it disappears.
Okay, cool. How
Seems
does
to
it
be
get any
working for
better
me.
than that? Yeah. Okay, what's light for you? Let's just do an exercise of light and heavy. Yeah? So right now, think of somebody that you really, really love. Really love. Okay? And then just close your eyes for a moment. And then expand right out through the whole room. And then expand out across the whole planet. There is a planet other than New Zealand. And then expand right out across the whole universe. Okay. Now, open your eyes, and just from that space, does that love for that person, does it get bigger or does it go away? It gets bigger. So it's light, so it gets bigger, so you know it's true. Yeah. Now, think of someone you really hate. Yeah? Okay. Now, once you've got that person, close your eyes. Now expand out across the whole of the Nelson, New Zealand, the planet. Go ballistic right out to the farthest reaches of the universe. Keep going. I can feel some of you wanting to hold on to that. Keep going, keep going, keep going, and then open your eyes. Now, does that hate become stronger or does it become less?
It chooses if you choose to feel it. If you don't feel it,
That's
then
where
it's
you were
staying.
holding on to it.
Yeah.
Yeah? It will become less because hate is not real. It's a distractor implant. It's designed to distract you from who you are. So the third and last one, and then I'll shut up. The metaphysical, spiritual, religious point of view about entities, which can be a minefield because some of it sounds so real, but a lot of it is significance has been placed on it. And it's a lot of the significance that we place on entities that locks us up from perceiving what is real and true. So let's have a look at some of the religious points of view about entities. The Christian's points of view that it's like, what do they call it? Exorcism. An exorcism needs to be difficult, it's hard, etc., etc., etc. I've taught these tools to ministers of the faith, and they go, oh my God, I did an exorcism, but I just used the tool. I did all the other bits and pieces, but I just used the clearing tools that you taught me, and the entities went like in seconds. Whereas before, it was always very hard work for them. So a lot of the spiritual point of view is that entities is very significant, it's very profound. It's not. What if entities was just like me and you having a chat? It doesn't have to be profound, it doesn't have to be significant, and then you don't get stuck with any of the significance. One of the things that I found that a lot of people have done, talking to a lot of people about entities, is that they stick themselves with this idea that entities have the power and it's very significant, and you have to do a lot of hard work to clear them, and it just doesn't work. It's just not easy. When you stick yourself with a point of view, it is then difficult to change it. You have to clear your point of view. So entities in a spiritual so-called church like this, there's going to be a few interesting metaphysical points of view that people would like to hold on to. That's not really real and true, but you would like to hold on to it, because if you let go of it, you might think you're letting go of your specialness. It's not special to see an entity. Everybody can do it. So everywhere where you're cutting off your capacities to perceive entities, would you now be willing to destroy and uncreate all of that? You say yes now. Wait until tonight at 12 o'clock. Good and bear, right, wrong, pop, popcorn, iron, short boys and beyonds. So there we have it. Just to highlight, two types of entities. One is a created entity, the other is a natural entity. There are 3 points of view about entities. One is Hollywood, which is basically fear-based. There's the spirituality one, which is basically significant-based. And then there's the psychological one, which is you're nut-based. And you've got a tool. Well, you've got 2 tools, actually, is if you hear voices or if you see things out of the corner of your eye or if you perceive something. How long have I got?
About 5 more minutes.
Oh, okay, cool. So it's just one other thing I'd like to go into. Just scrap that summary and add this to it instead. That there are different ways that entities can communicate with you. And there are like 2 basic ways. One is psychological and the other one is physiological. Okay? So physiological ways that entities can communicate with you is through your body, physical. Yeah? So when you get the sniffles, how many of you go to or start sneezing or start to feel that like feverish of a cold? How many of you go to the conclusion it was because you were standing next to that person at the bus stop that was spraying sneezes all over you this morning? Yeah? Rather than going into a question, which I was going to put in the summary, and asking, oh, is this an entity trying to connect with me? Because your body tends to be more aware than you are. It hasn't bought all of these points of view. So you can usually trust your body, but most of us tend to judge the hell out of it. So we don't trust it, we judge it. But if you ask your body, just like you'd ask a child, you know, what are you aware of here? Like, what are you aware of, body? What is this sneezing? Is this an entity? Oh my God, it is. How do you know? Because it will feel light. Yeah? If it feels heavy, it's not an entity, it's something else. Keep asking until you get more awareness. For years and years and years, I had hay fever. And I'd have it like for 3 days straight, where I'd just sneeze for 3 days straight if I was awake. It was totally exhausting. And I had that for 3 years. And, you know, you think you're going a bit nuts after that. And I was doing all sorts of things, yoga, taking drugs, not taking drugs, changing my diet, using neti pots, putting pee in neti pots, you know, all sorts of weird and wacky and wonderful things, and nothing was changing. It's because I wasn't asking any questions. Once I became aware that it was an entity, I now ask that question as soon as sneezing comes up, and 90% of the time for me, that's an indication that there's an entity around. That might not be true for you. Don't buy that. Don't go out here and then go, achoo! Oh, there's an entity. No, it's achoo! Oh, is there an entity? No, okay, cool. Yeah. It's just that fly just flew up your nose, you know. So, the second one is psychological. So, psychological is one that is very misunderstood. And part of that is like voices in your head. Yeah? The feeling that you're going nuts. The heaviness that you always feel when you wake up in the morning. the heaviness that you feel as you walk into a crowded pub. You know, if you're actually willing to ask a question and ask, oh, is this entities, you might find that a lot of your psychological idiosyncrasies are not real and true. It's your awareness of an entity. Now, that doesn't mean that you can blame all the entities for all of your problems. You've got to be willing to ask a question so you can receive a different possibility. You can receive the communication that's going on. Cool. So, is that good?
Yes.
Is that done? Are you fried? I'm fried. If you want more, this is just an introductory talk. I'm trying to pack in like 2 days into one. That's why I've been so fearsomely, I want to get this stuff out to as many people as possible, because if we all start choosing from the point of view of what will create more and beyond this reality, not create more of this reality, but create beyond this reality, then we can have a different reality. But while you're stuck in a point of view, while you're stuck in the polarity of this reality, you have no choice other than what this reality is giving to you. So going from the negative to only the positive does not work. It only works as a band-aid, which is great because it might get you over to something greater where you can start choosing for yourself. And it's choice that creates. This is a free will universe. It's one of the 3 laws of the universe, is you have free will. The free will is, what am I choosing today? Is the judgment going to stop with you? If you have made that choice, then you are the people that can create a different reality. Sure, some of you are not going to be Nelson Mandela, but that's okay. Some of you are not going to sit up here and talk about it, but you can still choose in every 10 seconds. This judgment does not work. This fighting in this relationship does not work. This fighting for the rightness of my point of view does not work. Fighting against cancer does not work. So the choice is yours. What are you going to choose? As soon as you choose it, then you can create a different reality.
You get more peace from it as well.
Oh, damn. You get more peace, you get more joy, you get more fun, you have more sex, and you get more money. Like, you get everything that this reality says you can have, but you get it at no expense to your body or to other people.
It's really fun.
Because it's just choice. It's just choice.
So you could term it as being in control of your own destiny.
Yeah,
Your thoughts create
if you want. Yeah.
So your thoughts create entity.
No, you create your reality.
You create your reality
You create
with the choices that you make. What choice can you make today that's different,
What you hold on to.
that will create a different reality? Because if you keep going back to the past, what are you going to create? Just the same. It's boring. How many years have you been on this planet? 4 trillion? Like, there isn't anything or anybody that you haven't done. Like, you've got to be... That's a joke. It's laughing. Yeah, it's like you've all been a man, you've all been a woman, you've all sat up here, you've all sat down there, you've all been hairdressers, you've all been sex addicts, you've all been everything. Like...
What's your opinion?
Oh, you're all sex addicts now. So if it's not changing, if your reality is not changing, choose. Just choose something different. Choose to go left instead of right. Doesn't matter what the choice is. Just choose. Choice creates.
Because we don't drive a car looking in the rear vision mirror.
Well, I've tried it. You don't get very far. Yeah. Cool. Okay, well, thank you for listening to my dribble tonight. If you are interested in more Talk to the Entity stuff, I think Rachel and I are putting a class together. I'm off to Brazil in Canada, and then Paris, and then Turkey. Turkey, no. Oh, apparently I'm going to Turkey now. Tokyo, and then I'll be back here in July, and we'll be doing a Talk to the Entities introduction class, which is an evening where we'll go into more like clearing entities and giving you tools to clear entities, and a little bit more about communication. And then I do a 2-day intensive class that is more about you becoming the dominant entity in your reality, and learning how to use these tools to clear entities, to communicate with entities, to find out about different entities, and also to start receiving from entities. Because when you start to lower those barriers to entities and start to receive, it's amazing how much more fun and joy you can have in your life. So everywhere where you've bought that it's far better to give than it is to receive, will you now destroy and uncreate all of that? Yes. Good and bad, right, wrong, pop, corn, eyes, short, boys and beyonds. I always thought that was a weird thing in the Bible. That's been bastardized since the King James Version. The original version was, it is as blessed to give as it is to receive. On this planet, everybody is giving. They're giving you their point of view all the time. No one is receiving. So they're giving you their judgments. They're giving you their point of view. What if we start receiving? And how much more could we receive from the planet? What could we change if we were willing to walk around without any barriers up to entities, to the planet, to that annoying neighbour that has a barky dog, you know? So, when are you going to choose? What are you going to choose? Thank you.